Hey, family, welcome back to the Culturalist Podcast, Conversations with Pam Ross. You are in for a treat today. I just had the most amazing conversation with this beautiful lady. Her name is Favour Robinson, and the title of her book is Liberated: Possess Your Freedom and Walk in Your Authority. Let me tell you, we talked about motherhood and ministry, being a female leader, telling your story, even when your story involves family, and knowing that it's still your story. How can you walk in integrity, be honest, and still be honorable to those that are in your family and maybe they're a part of your story? We talked about that as well. And have you ever heard this phrase, I can't live for God, but I can live from God? Yeah, we get into that. So, welcome to the Culturalist Podcast, Conversations with Pam Ross, with me having a conversation with Favour. Hi, I'm Pam Ross, the Culturalist. I love good conversations with interesting people. In this podcast, we use the art of conversation to explore what's happening in culture. Thanks for joining us. Well, hello, ma'am. Welcome.
Thank you, Dr. Pam. So good to see you. So good to see you. I feel like it's been forever.
It really has. You were one of those people I go a lot of places and I meet a lot of people, but you're one of those people that I met on the East Coast, or no, North Carolina.
We met in North Carolina.
Yes, North Carolina. And just you have an unusual combination, Favour. You have a combination of power and humility. And when you see people walking in that, and honor, and when you see people walking in that, you know that the power they have is authentically from God. Because you know how the Bible talks about if we humble ourselves under the hand of God, he exalts us in due season. So
that's the scripture God gave me before I got married. He said, if you and your husband stay under my mighty hand, I will lift you. So my scariest thing is rising above the hand of God, because I know I can't keep me there.
There it is. Let me tell you, I used to say, I want to stay under the hand of God. God knows when to reveal his hand.
Yes.
So even if his hand has me hidden, I'm satisfied. Because he knows when to show the world what's under his hand.
Yes.
So absolutely. So I'm so happy that we've stayed in touch. You are very
I am
dear
so
to
honored.
me.
Thank you. I love you so much. I love you so much.
Thank you so much. I receive it. And so many changes. When we met, we were both single. Now we're both married. And you are a mama.
I have 2 kids. I have 2 kids. I have 2 kids. When your producer was like, make sure the environment is quiet, I'm like, does Dr. Pam remember she used to be like me?
Okay. There's no guarantee. You cannot guarantee quiet. How old are your children?
I have a 2-year-old and a 3-month-old.
Oh, no, you can't guarantee quiet. Let me tell you, my children, we are who we are, regardless of even before we recognize it. So I was always the Lord's apostle. I'm going to organize. I'm going to empower. I'm going to put people in place. Hey, you can do this. You can do this. I remember having a baby strapped on, organizing vacation Bible school for kids. So your children, I'm like, the Lord knows who you are when he gives you those children. And so your children just become ministry kids. They become very
really, last weekend we were in Delaware. So I was speaking at a conference and I took both of them with me.
Yes.
I said, because I can have both. I don't have to choose between my kids and ministry. They are ministry. And so we can have both. The expression is just different depending on what we have going on.
It really is. There would be times when it's like some of the times my children are all adults now, but even some of those times where I felt like, God, am I neglecting my children? On Wednesdays, I worked long days. I didn't get home until very late. And so I wasn't home to make dinner. So what I would try to do is make 2 dinners on Tuesday, and try to do that. If I did not do that, I had a house account at a local Italian restaurant owned by some members at the church where I worked. And I would call and have them bring over salad and pizza to my house, right?
Wow.
And I'm thinking, oh, what a mommy. I gotta order this food to be taken over because I didn't make 2 meatloafs on Tuesday or whatever. Do you know, as my children got older, they confessed to me they would be so happy when they came home from school if there was no food on Wednesday.
They knew they were getting pizza.
Yes. And they would like do their little fist pumps, like, yes, she ran out of time.
Wow.
Yeah. And so the things that we think are so important sometimes to our
Yeah.
children as moms in ministry, we discover later they enjoyed being at mom's book table. My children they could sell those books. They enjoyed being in the back of
That's
the
so
room
good.
while I'm in the front of the room. And I'll never forget my youngest one time said to me, she said, Mom, when I grow up, I'm going to be a comedian just like you. She
She's right. I was telling my husband about you. I'm like, when you talk about somebody who is a force of joy, is Dr. Pam. I'm like, she'll tell you the truth. It's cutting you, but it's sweet at the same time. I don't know
Yes.
how that works.
I don't know how it works either, but the Lord does it.
I don't know how that works.
So she saw me up there having so much fun. And the people that were in training or ministry were having fun, learning how to live for God, learning how to be great team members. And she thought, oh, yeah, my mom's a comic. That's what she does.
I want to be a comedian.
I want to be a comedian just like you. I said, Zoe, I teach the Bible. This is what I teach. I teach biblical principles here.
Wow.
So, yeah, have fun with the babies. If you can pack them up and bring them with you, pack them up and bring them with you and enjoy every moment because it moves so quickly.
That's what I heard.
Oh my, and when you're in the middle of diapers and Cheerios and my house, I had all three.
It feels like it's forever.
It feels like it's forever. I had my whole house was Barbie dolls and Lego blocks everywhere.
I'm going through it. I'm going through. I don't understand, like, how do I organize the clothes and you take them out of the dresser and you put them on the floor? Like,
yes. So because she has a whole different style than you. She wants to see what she has before she decides.
Yeah.
And you usually get at least one child who's just like you and one who is the opposite of you.
Yeah.
Yes. So you can see what it's like to live with you.
Oh, it's bad. It's bad. Some things you can't even discipline because you're just like, I'll be a hypocrite if I spank you right now.
Right. Yes. Let me ask you this, because I love to ask moms this with toddlers. Are you learning more about the father heart of God? Oh,
so much.
Isn't it wonderful?
So yes, it's incredible. It's so healing too.
It is.
It is healing. It is a lot of healing.
Yeah.
It is a lot of healing. I'm like, I don't think that when we're going through discipline with God, he's sitting in heaven, sipping a glass of wine, like, yeah, you're going to go through that pain. I was like, he's doing it, but his heart grieves. It's like you grieve the Holy Spirit while you're being disciplined.
Yes.
Because the hope is that I wish we didn't have to let you go through that pain, but then you're going through. At the same, I'm looking at my daughter, I'm like, I really have to spank you because if I don't, society will, and I don't want them to have to do it. But I'm like, I'll go to my room, I'll be like, babe, my heart is broken. Wow, it's like, I just spanked Shiloh.
Yes. Yes. I'm telling you, I learned so much about even things of settling disputes between them. My girls are all 2 years apart, or even explaining the love where I write about this in my first book, where the oldest one did something to the middle. And I said, you should apologize to her. So she sincerely did apologize. And then I told the middle one, well, you should forgive her. She said, no, I want you to whoop her. And so
there's no forgiveness without without pain.
No. Right. I want her to hurt. I want her to I want you to whoop her. Then I'll forgive her. The Lord began to deal with me about that.
Yeah.
To say how
When
many
we don't
times.
get, we're like, no, yeah, it's a vengeance. But God, it
Yes.
mistreated me like vengeance.
Yes. He said, how
Yeah.
many times do you love my mercy when it's on your plate, but you
Mm-hmm.
don't love my mercy when it's on someone else's plate?
Mm-hmm.
Yes. So
When
I
somebody
had
else
to,
is getting mercy, we're like, no, but you don't
yes,
understand what they did to me. And we're like,
yes.
yeah,
You're like,
God, please
yes, God,
let their car break down somewhere in the middle of nowhere.
We're saying like my baby did. I want you to whoop her, is
I
what
want
she said. I want you to whoop her.
What did you do?
I did not. I said, but she's already sorry. She knows that it's wrong and she really regrets it. No, you need to embrace
That is,
her. She
that
didn't
is
quite
funny.
understood it, but she did.
Mm,
She did embrace her sister and love her sister. But I tell you, just that moment, I just keep
mm-hmm.
having those had those little moments
So
when they were
good.
little, and I'm
So
home
good.
wanting to be where the grown-ups were, and but realizing, man, I love this season of
Mm-hmm.
parenting and just understanding how they grow. And
Mm-hmm.
as they begin to articulate faith on their level.
Yes.
Oh my
Yeah.
gosh, faith on their level from what they
Yeah.
know about the Bible.
What they know about the Bible, watching Super Bowl, and then
Yes.
Rick Warren's ministry, Saddleback, has a very good, solid kids ministry. So my daughter watches them all the time. They do what they call
Oh,
church at home. It's
I
so
love it.
powerful. Oh yeah, it's so powerful, like turning Bible verses into songs. Because my husband is a worship leader, so my daughter at 2, she sings. She'll make up her
Yeah.
own songs, keep the notes. Every time I sing with them, my husband's gonna be like, "Yeah, you changed the key." I'm like, such an embarrassment.
And you're like, what key? What key?
Because she said, "Mommy, come and sing." And I'm coming to join the choir. And then my husband is like, "Oh my gosh, you just changed the key." I'm like, "Okay, you guys don't invite me. Invite me when you're talking. Not when you're
He
singing. I don't
said,
want to
this
be
is
a
not your
part."
gift.
Yeah, but she is like constantly telling people that Adam and Eve were disobedient. And so
Yeah.
Jesus took the punishment for us. I kid you know, we have videos. Even at the conference I was speaking at, she told the host pastor, "Did you know that Jesus died and took the punishment?" So I was like, "Why?" He said, "Adam and Eve were disobedient, Mama.
Yes.
Adam and Eve were disobedient."
I
So
love
when
it.
she does something, I'm like, "Do you want to be like Adam and Eve?" No.
See, no, I do not. I don't want to be disobedient. I'm telling you, they get those good. And my ministry started with children's church, and
Really?
it really did. I did not start off teaching teamwork and leaders. It started with teaching children
Wow.
who God is, who Jesus is, who the Holy
Wow.
Spirit is, even like learning the fruit of the Spirit. When the Holy Spirit is in you, it's beyond speaking in tongues, helping
Mm-hmm.
you sleep at night, helping you make wise decisions, helping
That's so
you control
good.
yourself. Yes. So all of those, even studying for those types of things with children, how can I make this
Mm-hmm.
as simple as possible? I think it helps me even now with dealing with leaders and pastors, helping to see people
Yeah.
as God's dearly beloved children.
Yeah, that's
And
so good.
you can be 60 or 70 years old, you're still God's dearly beloved son.
That's so
And
good.
when you operate outside of that identity, that's not the real you.
It's not, mm-mm.
And
It's
getting people
inauthentic.
back.
Yeah,
Yes.
it's inauthentic. Wow.
Yes. No
I
matter
would
how
never
comfortable
have
it feels.
guessed.
We can feel real comfortable in our flesh, but that doesn't mean that that's the real you.
Yeah, that's true. That's very, very true. It's amazing. I would never have guessed that.
Oh, really? That's right in children's
Yeah.
church? Yeah,
Mm-mm.
I
I
did.
know you were a professor at one point, right? Were you in a school or
Yes. And
something like
yeah,
that?
ended up teaching in Bible college.
Wow.
Loved that. You know what I loved about Bible college is we were just building this Bible college. And
Wow.
I was asked to design the leadership track. And because things were moving so quickly, they really gave me wide boundaries to
Mm.
be able to say, well, what does someone need to lead in the kingdom way? And just even beginning to seek the Lord, talk to students,
Mm-hmm.
talk to people who were leading in the church and begin to develop various curriculums. But I also got the green light to do things about diversity.
Good.
Oh yeah, women in ministry,
That's a big one.
culture, you know,
Hmm.
and
That's
that
a big one.
we don't serve an American God, so we don't Americanize people into our church.
Hmm. Hmm. I can tell you that being an immigrant, it's like sometimes you don't want to say anything because somebody's gonna be like, "Oh my gosh, you have an accent," and you're like,
Yes.
"Oh, Lord, here we go again."
Yes. Rather than admire it.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah, right on my end, it make you feel like I don't understand you because you have an accent. Like, no.
And then I did 11 days in South Africa. Favor, let me tell you. I've traveled internationally before. I've been to London. I've been to various places, went to the Czech Republic, and I had
Hmm.
been to Africa before. But going to South Africa, I just felt like I was home. I
Yeah.
was just, I said, what is it about? I
Yeah,
was in
everybody
Durban.
tells me that. Everyone
Really?
feels the same way. Yes,
I'm like, oh my gosh, I feel like I was.
everybody feels the same
And
way.
one of the things that God did for me while I was there, I felt like He was pulling a thread and
Hmm.
pulling out the Americanization of my faith.
Hmm.
And so,
Hmm.
this idea of when we disciple people, we don't have to Americanize them in order
Hmm.
for them to become a follower of Jesus.
Yeah, yeah.
Mhm. Yeah, it's really
Right.
amazing. It's
It's
really
really good. Everybody, doesn't matter what country, I don't think I've met probably just one person who would say, "Oh, I went to a country, I didn't know much, and so it was hard for me to," but I've not met more than one person who said they didn't feel like I want to do it again.
Yes. Oh,
Yeah.
I'll be back. And I really feel like I'm to go back and do some serious work there.
Hmm.
I
And
just
that
love
culture
it.
needs it, like what you're doing here in the US. Because
Hmm.
I run a ministry out there as well. And
Hmm.
the you see the difference in just how leadership works. It's like we
Yes.
have, yeah, that continent for sure within the church, regular faith-based organizations that are not membership based, as well
Hmm.
as companies and entrepreneurs. Like it's gonna be a mind shift because I was telling my husband once, I said I feel like the people I lead want to be bullied. Like they
Yes.
understand the language of suppression. Yeah, they understand the language of suppression. They understand the language of being trampled on,
Yes.
being treated like you're at the mercy of whoever you're submitted to. And it's just,
Yes.
it breaks my heart. I'm like, can't you guys see that I would never conform to that?
No, never. And
Yeah.
so they're redefining and almost like reimagining
Hmm.
what strong, quote unquote, strong leadership looks like. The
Yeah. It's
idea
horrible.
that because I'm a strong leader, I don't need to take your strength from you.
Hmm.
I can allow you to be strong too because I show up with
Yeah.
my own strength.
Exactly,
And
but it's not that. And for me,
no,
it's worse being a woman. So when I
oh
go there
yeah,
to do ministry, it's more of like, what is she coming to do? Are you about to start a church?
yeah.
Are members from our churches coming to your conference? It's just more of that whole insecurity. So it's a lot. So I
Hmm.
tell my team, I was like, if you're looking for somebody to abuse you, it's not gonna be me, and you are in the wrong ministry.
You're in the wrong ministry.
You're in the wrong
Let me
ministry.
tell you, I think I sent you an Instagram message as I was reading your book. I had a series of long flights heading out west and then long flights coming back.
Coming
So
back.
it was a perfect time because I've been honeymooning, so I haven't been reading
You're
much.
living your best life. Living your best life.
I mean, living it. I just been living it up. And I thought I want to get to this book while I travel. And then thank God, Dr. Latoya was able to get you here with me. But there's so much in this book I want to dive in if you're ready. Um,
Yes, I am.
okay, let's see. Someone's calling me. All right, get rid of that. So I'm gonna go here first because you mentioned it earlier, and this is my favorite chapter, the believer's responsibility.
It's my favorite too. I tried so hard not to put my flesh in that particular chapter. It was the chapter I had to keep running by my husband, like between you, the Holy Ghost, and my willingness to submit. I'm gonna try
Yes.
to not call nobody's name, nobody's ministry, nobody's organizing.
I love this chapter. This is what I wrote in my notes. I said, one of my favorite books is The Believer's Authority by Kenneth Hagin.
I read that last year.
Did you? Yeah. So
yes, I had a book club last year and I had the ladies read that book. It was very good.
This is a book that I recommend a lot to mentees or even people that would take leadership classes. I'm like, you should really take this book, particularly if you're entering into like a foundation of your prayer life. You need to understand this. But this chapter is the believer's responsibility. And so I was able to marry my love for this book, The Believer's Authority, with something that I teach leaders who are in executive levels. I said, I teach leaders to only give authority where there is a corresponding responsibility.
That's right.
And so
that's right.
I was so happy to read this chapter again and again.
Yeah. You can't exercise authority if you're irresponsible.
There it is.
Yeah, you can't. And I think people like that idea. Yeah. You're going to abuse people. You're going to be toxic, right? Because the whole idea of toxic ministries, toxic organizations, toxic families, relationships, somebody is abusing authority by being irresponsible.
By being irresponsible. Yeah. What I love about some of how you married this idea of, yes, God has given you authority, but he's given you authority that corresponds with your responsibility. And so if you find that your authority is just not working, and you address this frustration so beautifully and compassionately,
that's right.
Let me tell you, people have their own version of Jesus that they love. And we love, it's getting ready to be Christmas, and we love the Savior that came down 42 generations.
We love him all of that.
We love all that. Let me tell you, Jesus that I serve most days, this is the one who looks at me and says, do you really want to get well?
Yes. Yes. Absolutely.
That one.
Absolutely. Yeah.
He says, are you ready to partner with me?
Are you ready to partner with me? The one that tells you, go, I'm not going to heal your daughter. And you said, you know what? I'm a dog. Yes. If it will cost me being a dog for my daughter to be healed, I'm willing to be a dog.
Right. I understand. You're on assignment. You're first called to Israel. But listen, I can't wait until you do all of that until I'm accepted. She's sick right now. Yeah. She's sick right now. So I love this idea of prompting believers, take responsibility for your destiny, your spiritual life.
Outgrow your upbringing. Outgrow your upbringing. Like so many people with the whole idea of, Dr. Palm, I don't know. I hope nobody gets offended hearing this. The worst people I don't want to talk to, people who grew up in the church.
Yes.
Every time somebody starts a statement, which I grew up in the church, I'm like,
you brace yourself. You say, oh, Lord.
I'm like, maybe not the church that Jesus is the chief cornerstone and the head of, because if it really was, your life would look like it.
Your life would look like it. Here's the other. I often tell leaders, particularly church planters, I do a lot of work with people who are planting or within their first 5 years. And I say to them, folks that have been under oppressive leadership will be your messiest members.
Yes.
Because they're not accustomed to freedom.
Yeah.
They're not accustomed to it. And so they come here and you are leading free people. They don't know how to be free.
Yes.
They don't. And so the last thing you want to take is responsibility.
Yeah.
Did you
People
do that?
don't want to take.
They don't want to take responsibility.
Yeah.
And so the challenge is going to be to grow these folks up, because they feel like, well, I was in the church for 20 years, but you were not free for 20 years.
Yeah, I was in the church for 20 years. I hear the voice of God. Some will even tell you that, while I was in that church, the Lord told me. I'm like, no, he didn't.
No, he didn't. Yeah, no, he didn't.
Because I tell them, when God speaks to a person, you can't unhear his voice.
You cannot.
You cannot. I said, everybody who has had a true encounter with God, and I wouldn't claim being a person that God has visibly appeared to. I said, but when you have that knowing in you that I'm about to step into a season into a place, into a destination, whether physically, spiritually, mentally, emotionally,
Yep.
or even in your career. I say, when you
Yes.
know, no, it's God, I'm like, you can't unhear that.
You cannot unhear it. And
You
you
can't
can't.
comfortably disobey it.
Yes. There's something, it's like, I remember I met an amazing lady, Coach Anna McCoy. It changed my life. I I think I emailed or something regarding something I saw in one of her books. Next thing you know, I'm getting a voicemail, and it was on my work phone. I hear the voicemail. I hang up the phone. I went downstairs and laid on the altar.
Wow.
And folks were like, why didn't you call her back? Because I knew immediately when I call this lady back, my life is about to change.
Wow.
And so you are absolutely right when you say
Yeah.
there are these moments
There are moments.
where he gives us the choice. It's like, you can go, here you go. You can go with me, you can call her back.
Yeah.
And when you do, you're about to enter into a journey of personal responsibility
Ability.
at a
Yeah.
level where I had never experienced before.
Being before.
Never.
Yeah. Yeah. That's why you see a lot of people will say that, 5 years ago or last year, I went to a conference and I got a prophetic word. And I'm like, that word was not without responsibility. I said, because
There it
if you
is.
listen to the word over and over, it's gonna tell you something you need to be doing. Or if
Yes.
your spirit truly conceive what God is saying to you, your next question will be, what must I do? Not what should I do?
Yes. What must I do? What when I get a prophetic word, it's always, is there correction in this word?
Yes.
Is there revelation? Is God
Yeah.
showing me knowledge, something I need to know? Based
Yeah.
on that he's shown me, now that I know it, what do I need to change?
Yeah.
How do I prepare in faith for this word to manifest? So everything in the kingdom, if we walk in these levels of authority, it comes with responsibility. And
Yeah.
so often we are afraid to, on two levels. We're afraid for people to be responsible for their own lives because we want
Yes.
to have authority over their lives,
Yes.
or we're afraid of people to be responsible for their own lives because we don't want to hurt their feelings.
Yes. Yeah. No, seriously, it's such, especially the first one
Mhm.
of people wanting to make sure that if I tell them the whole truth, if I teach them, they're gonna get so good that they wouldn't need me.
Yes.
Is the fear
Mhm.
of not being needed as a leader. And
Yes.
so you would rather give them only as enough as they would always want to come back to you.
Yes.
I'm like,
Rather
at
than
some point,
empower them to build their life, to partner with God and
exactly.
build their life, which is true
Yeah.
discipleship.
Yeah, that is true
Mhm.
discipleship. At some point, the same person should not call my phone every year asking for prayer for the same
For
thing,
the same thing.
right? Something has got to shift. And so we keep the truth away from people, or at least the entire truth of what they need to know
Yep.
to take responsibility for their walk. And this is why you will see like people will only show up where their favorite speaker is. People don't go to
Yes.
events anymore because there's a testimony that Jesus is going to be in the building. You don't go
No.
because the leader hosting the event has so much integrity that they will
Yes.
not do anything on earth that heaven is not doing. You go
Yes.
because they threw somebody on the flyer that you have an affinity for, whether they're telling
Yes.
lies or they're telling truth, right? You just want
Hmm.
to go the moment
Hmm.
they're on the flyer, and people now know that if I put this person on the flyer, the crowd is gonna come.
They're
And
going to
people are
show
not
up.
okay with
Hmm.
wondering, but is God gonna be there? Jesus, are you gonna be there? Do you want me to be here? What is in need for me in
Yes.
alignment with what you want to accomplish in the earth?
Yeah. This book, I won't say hard truths because they weren't hard for me to swallow. I loved it. And I wasn't looking for confirmation bias. One of the things that you say, and man, let me tell you, confirmation bias has been a thing in the US lately, where we only listen to what
Who
confirms
is
what we already.
confirming? Who is confirming? Yes, I was having a conversation with someone, and my husband heard and said, did she need any confirmation for that? She didn't. He said,
No, no.
yeah,
And or sometimes trying to get out of what you know you should already do.
yes,
No, you know what
yeah.
you should do. You already, even Micah 6, you know to do right, you
Hmm.
know? do justly, love mercy, walk humbly. You know,
Yeah. Yeah.
yet we're not doing it. And then we want, like, I need a confirmation. I need somebody
I
to
need somebody to
and
confirm.
let me tell
Yeah.
you, I walked that, I played that game with God, and it made me miserable.
Yeah. Because you're
I
not
said,
always gonna get it.
oh,
You're not always gonna get
it
it.
made me miserable. I remember I was in a restaurant with my dearest friend, and I had received probably about at least 50 words, 50 prophetic words about marriage. It was so much that it was beginning to get irritating. Hope deferred makes the heart sick. I didn't I didn't want to hope for it and be disappointed. I just
Yeah.
wanted, it was like, just give me instruction concerning ministry, my children, my wealth, my
Because
health.
that I can control.
Yeah, 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 yeah. But nothing that involves the free will of another person. I
Yeah.
didn't do that. And I was sitting in a restaurant with my dearest friend, and I said to her, I don't know why God keeps tormenting me as if he's tormenting me. It's not God, it's me tormenting me.
Yeah.
I was said, I don't know why. I was so whining, why he keeps sending these words and et cetera, et cetera. And she said, you did this to yourself. I'm like, what? That's the kind of friend she is. She said, in fact, we were in this same restaurant. And she said this to me. She said, if the Lord sent someone, would you ever marry again? And I said to her, girl, listen, I would have to see the bush burn. I would have to hear the voice coming out of the bush. I would need a glory ball to come from heaven. I was just like, I would have, basically, the Lord would have to do all of this.
All of that to get me to agree with him.
And then when it started happening, I was miserable. Miserable. It is always best to just
Wow.
obey the voice of God.
Yes. There's
You don't need
nothing.
15, 11 dozen
No.
confirmations. And all you need
No.
to know is, Lord, is this you? I'm going to follow.
Yeah. Yeah. Somebody asked me a
Mhm.
question recently for like a magazine edition they're trying to release, and they wanted me to be featured on it. And she said, how do you balance obedience? How do you find the balance between obeying God and what is going on in the world? I'm like, I don't find the balance. The
There
world
is
did
no
not call me.
balance.
Yeah, I was
No.
like, there is no balance. I
Can
was
you
like, the world
imagine?
didn't call me.
That's right. The world didn't make me. The world didn't
The
call
world didn't make me. You said exactly what I said to her. I said, the world didn't
me.
call me. The world didn't make me. The world is not who I'm living for. I'm not
No.
even living from the world.
Come
You know,
on.
I said, so we're not finding balance. I was like, this is the problem, that we
Yes.
try to put things where they don't belong. Because now people are like, how do you find balance between this and this? I was like, God is my balance.
He
If I
is.
have him, I don't need to find balance. How do you balance motherhood and all of this? I was like, God is my balance. He called me
God
to
is
be
your
a mother,
balance.
called me a woman in
Yes.
ministry, made me a wife, made me his daughter, all of the
Hmm.
things. And do I have to choose between being his daughter? Because all these things I'm doing as a daughter. I will
Yes.
always be a daughter as a mother. I'll always be a
Yes.
daughter as a wife. I'll always be a daughter as a speaker, as
Yes.
whatever I'm doing. And so, if God is the balance, I just need to understand what He's doing in that season and be
Yes.
aligned.
Yeah. Lord, where is God putting the emphasis? Where's the weight of God
Yeah.
in the season?
Yes.
And
Yeah.
we just get in alignment with that. I love,
Yeah.
I mean, when you said that question, I thought about, imagine if someone had asked Daniel that. How do you obey God and balance that with what's happening in the world? I mean, imagine if someone had asked Daniel, how are you
Yeah.
going to continue with this ministry of prayer? He was a
Hmm.
prophet, but really his ministry was prayer.
Was prayer.
And prayer is now illegal. His answer was so
Yeah.
simple, I'm just going to pray. It doesn't
Yeah.
matter
He's
what's
like,
happening.
I'm not trying to find a balance. I don't even know
I'm
what
not
they're
going to
doing.
pray.
I don't care what they're doing. I know what I'm supposed to do. And,
Mhm.
you
And
know,
I mean, open the
but
window and pray like he
yeah,
always did. So
yeah.
yeah, there's
But
no,
the
the
lack
world
of
does.
responsibility, the lack of
Yeah,
taking responsibility, we're always finding, how much can I go wrong and still be right?
and still be right. But if we knew, if we had an idea, and some of it perhaps has come with age, but I don't know because I've met people my age and older, so I don't know. But I think some of it has just come with living and walking with God. If
Yes.
I knew to taste
Hmm.
how good He is,
Yeah.
how wise he is, his
Yeah.
kindness. My
Yeah.
husband and I were praying this morning, just thanking God for his
For
kindness.
his kindness. Yeah, we forget
He
sometimes that
just
he's
does things
kind.
for you. He just
Yes.
does things for you,
Yeah, and
And
you don't know
all,
how much he's taking you out of that you didn't even get to experience it. I'm like, okay, we want to
yes,
always thank God when the mortgage is paid, but what if something was about to be released in the earth that will cause your house to quake and he stopped
yes,
it? You wouldn't
yes,
even be praying about a mortgage if you didn't have a house in the first place,
right.
right?
And so we think of if we knew how good, we wouldn't be trying to say, how far
Yeah.
away from you, how
Can
far
I get
removed can I get from your ways?
Yes, how far can I get
We would
away
be saying,
from
how
you and
close can
still
I
be
get to
loved
you?
by you? Yeah. How
We
much
would
of
be,
my disobedience are you willing to condone with?
exactly.
Yeah,
We'd be saying,
no.
Lord, how can I get closer? How can how can I be
Yeah.
under the shadow of your wing?
What must I do?
Yes, what
Or
must
what
I
must I
do?
not do? What are some things I must not
Oh,
even dare to do?
man, I want to ask you about this interesting quote from the book. And you just said it. You just said it. Let me see what chapter it's from because I really want these listeners to get this is from the second chapter. Because I had never heard this phrase before. It says, growing in our knowledge of God should bring us to a place where we realize we don't have the capacity to live for Him. Instead, we learn to trust Him to help us to live from Him and with Him. Let's talk about that because I really love that statement. I
Yeah.
really do.
Um, because we go through challenges, right? And some of our challenges are self-inflicted. I feel like a lot of what
They
it
really are.
is, a lot of things that people consider as long suffering is not long suffering.
No, it's not.
We make a bad decision and it backfired on us, and because we think the religiously right thing to tell anybody would be that, oh, God has me going through transitions. No, you were
Mm-mm.
supposed to be stable, but you went a direction you should not have gone. And so for me, that statement is really reeling people in into understanding the grace of God. That when He said, I created you in my image and in my likeness, it didn't mean you should function without me. It's almost saying that I have tethered you to me.
Yes.
And every time a separation occurs, that's when we begin to drown.
Mm.
Every time a separation, every time we're losing a taste, a sense, a connection of the likeness of God, we're trying to live for Him, because Satan will come and test your ability to live for God, and you realize you
Yes.
really can't.
We cannot. And we're
You
trying to do
really
it for
can't.
him. It's like
Yeah, and
as
because
if we're trying to impress him.
yes, right. I was telling somebody that I was saying today on a prayer call, I said, let me just be straight because there's so much immorality, there's so much, all sorts of things going on. I said, God will help you come to a place where you can look at a woman who is naked and you have no desire to sin with
None.
her.
None. Mm-hmm.
You can look at a situation where you can lie about your resources, your finances, and something, but you have no desire because the likeness of God in you cannot allow you to do it. That is living from God. I can,
Yeah.
Dr. Palm, I cannot live for God.
No.
I
Mm-mm.
can't live for God. As grateful as I am for my kids, sometimes I'm
Yeah.
looking at her like, girl, you make me want to go back to my
Okay.
single days. Like, yeah. But I understand that, the likeness of God as a father living in me can allow me to love my daughter, even when she's not meeting my
Yes.
expectations.
Yes. I love it. I love this concept because it's about identity. And identity
Yes.
is probably one of my highest passions and one of my highest values,
Yes, it is
encouraging
for you. It
people,
is.
yes, to be God's original thought of you. And
Hmm.
his original thought of us is
Yeah.
us in his image and in his likeness.
Yeah. Every time you grow to know God more, you realize I can't do without him. That's a
Oh,
summary of that statement.
mm-hmm. Can't do
Every
it without
time
him.
you get to know him more, like I can't do without him. So imagine you and I are in industries and spaces of ministry where we're serving people. What do you
Yes.
do when you're in a position to serve people that you know probably don't like you, or you've
Mm-hmm.
heard a few things they've said about you, and they're
Yes.
going to be in the room because they don't have a choice but to be in the room, and you
Yes.
have to not deliver a message. You cannot craft your workshop according to your flesh. You're going to craft your workshop according to what God wants to do in that person's life. How do you do that if you're trying to live for God?
Ma'am, you are a whole prophet. That happened to me in February. Was it February or January of this year? I was putting together a ministry environment about trusting God again after being
Mm,
hurt by his children.
wow.
I didn't know until I arrived that two people who hurt me deeply were not only there, but on the front row. When I found out they would be there, I saw them. I left the room. I called an intercessor.
Please
I
pray.
said, why did God not show me that they would be there? And she said, because it makes no difference.
That's good.
What you've prayed, what you've studied, what you've
Yeah.
prepared is the word of the Lord from the heart of God for people who have
Yes.
been hurt by God's people. People that claim
Mm-hmm.
God's name have hurt you. Then how are you going to fully embrace God again?
Yeah.
And so this was my subject with these people
Can
sitting.
you imagine?
She said it
Can
would
you
make
imagine?
no difference who's in the room. I
Yes.
trust your integrity to just
That word. Yeah. That word, integrity, that word to be able to deliver a message,
Mhm.
provide something that is going to be useful to someone, and there is no element of your flesh in it.
No,
When
no.
Satan can champion you into being fleshly,
Yes.
you live from God.
It was I don't even know how, but within like the first couple of I was introduced, I came up, it's like the anointing of joy hit me. I'm not a
Yes.
singer, but I'll sing, right? So I just started singing. I was so happy. We're going to reclaim our joy tonight. I
Yes.
completely
That's so
forgot they were in
good.
the room.
Yes. That's
I,
because
it wasn't, we
it
did
did
an
not make a
altar call.
difference.
We did a very transparent altar call to say some of us there's static between you and God,
Yeah.
legitimate static because you're bruised, but he was anointed to heal your bruise.
Wow.
And even if the person wore a collar, whatever, whoever they were,
Wow. Wow.
even though they said they represented him, they didn't in those moments where they hurt you.
Wow.
Come forward. People came forward and the altar, I thought, okay, maybe a few courageous people, and then there'll be a few
Yeah.
to stop you in the hallway and be like,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, my pastor
You were
agrees,
talking
blah, blah,
about
And so, but it was so jam-packed. I completely forgot they were in the room.
Wow.
That had to be a moment that describes what you say in the book
Yeah. Yeah.
about
The more I
doing it
know God, the
from
more I
him.
know I cannot
Yes.
do it without you.
Mhm.
If I ever would do it without you, please take me home
Yes.
because it will be
Because it won't be
disastrous.
of any value. And
It
my flesh
won't be of
is so
any value,
difficult.
and I'll become a casualty to the enemy because I think that even Satan is in the place of, keeping watch and keeping tabs. Like he has this, documentary that he's keeping of our lives, that he
Mhm.
wants to see you on that day where you feel like you got this on your own.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that your maker is not needed. And that's the reason why I hate the idea of being a strong woman. As a strong
Yes.
woman is not just a woman who doesn't need anybody, is a woman who also doesn't need God because God is going to use somebody.
Because it's
So
in my weakness.
if you don't need nobody, you don't need God.
Hello. No, I have
Yeah.
it's interesting. Even before I was married, even in dating, someone said to me, so you're a strong woman. No, he said, you're a strong, independent woman. And I said, oh, no, not at all. I'm a woman who's built an amazing community. So
Yeah.
I have a group of friends who are very interdependent. I have three
Mm-hmm.
daughters. And I said, if I have to, this one was giving a speech to receive a scholarship. So I asked a friend, can you go to the concert? Go to the other one that's having a
Wow.
concert. So
Wow.
I said, we're built for community.
Yes.
And I'm not gonna pretend that I can do it all.
I can.
No,
No,
not.
I can. I can.
Mhm.
It's just like we're here right now. An amazing friend is watching my daughter
Yes.
while we're here. Yeah, it's the truth. And then somebody's gonna see this and be like, "Oh, she's a woman who can do it all." I'm like, no. we're
Mm.
just graced. There's grace,
That's
there's
it's the
help.
grace. Yep. And
I
if
don't
you,
want the narrative of
yes,
like you're a strong Black woman. I'm like, my ethnicity and nationality doesn't make me strong. Not even the things I've been through can make me strong.
that's right.
Only
That's
from
not
God and
right.
in
Because they'll
God.
say what they if I walk with the Lord, they'll make me wise. The things that I've been through, if I walk with him, they'll make me wise. Meaning, here's my definition of wisdom: the ability to identify a thing properly and then know how to
Yes,
proceed.
that's good.
And so if I
That's
see
good.
something and I can activate, oh yes, God is showing me what this is. I
Yeah.
remember when I encountered this before and I made the wrong
Yes.
decision.
Yeah.
Wisdom is telling me this is what this is again, and now you know how to handle it.
Now you
God
know
is
how to
giving you
handle
another
this. So
time
good.
to face this Goliath, and this
That's
time you're
so
gonna
good.
win because you're gonna
Yeah.
fight. You're gonna be led
Yes.
by what you know, not by
Hmm.
what you feel.
What you
When I
feel.
tell you, I really have enjoyed it. It's called Liberated, Possess Your Freedom and Walk in Authority. And I just absolutely so enjoyed it. And I'll probably go through it again. And
Thank you. That means a lot. That means a lot
yes,
because you are the real deal.
thank
You
you.
are the real
Thank you
deal.
so much. I tell you what, I believe in, I wouldn't be who I am without partnering with the Lord.
Yeah.
There's just no way. Really submitting. I use the word
Hmm.
partner because I do my part, you know? And I
Yes.
often tell people, even if you feel like your part is just 2% of what needs to be done,
Do it.
do it. Because
Do
why would
it.
you want your destiny to be 98% done? Your
Right.
breakthrough is at 98%. God
It
is
is. Can
taking
you
you all the way
imagine?
up.
So
Yeah.
good. Can you imagine not having something because you missed out on your 1%? And it's so funny
Yes.
how we try to excuse ourselves away from it by pointing it back to God. People will be
Yeah.
like, "Oh, I'm waiting on the Lord." I'm like, "But what if he's
Mm-mm.
waiting on you?
Yeah.
He's already told you at least what you need to know to take a step. Don't worry about the step
Yeah.
you cannot see. What are you doing with the step that's right in
That you
front of
can
you?"
see. That you can see. And even the
Yeah.
internal work that needs to be done, that whole idea of, I'm just waiting on God to open the door. Well,
Yeah.
trust me, God is not wasting your time. If you were ready, He would open
No.
it. If you were
Yeah.
ready.
He will
So,
open
what
the
can you do
door.
to ready yourself, stabilize
Yeah.
yourself, prepare for the success that you are expecting?
Hmm.
So, yeah, I highly recommend it. I loved it. And this idea of forgiveness, this idea of breaking word curses, recognizing who has real authority over your life. And I love that
Hmm.
you gave us your personal story. I love books. I was telling PJ today, my husband, I said, I love this book because I love people's stories. I love to see that, we are written epistles. And so when
Yes.
and God is writing his story through your life. And so if
Hmm.
I read the story of a faithful believer, I not only learn about them, but
Yeah,
I learn about
that's
his,
good.
yeah, I learn
Yes,
about
about the
his
real
faithfulness to
author,
his
the
word.
real
Yeah.
author of the narrative. Yeah. And it's always challenging to tell those stories because I know this is also like an African American orientation, but it's very strong in
Hmm.
Africa as well, where we are not allowed, like there's not a freedom, liberated, there's not a liberty to come out and say, this is
Yes.
how I was raised. Because the
Yes.
people who are not healed and that were a part of that upbringing are receiving it as though, oh, you're throwing your family under the bus, you're
Yes.
making it seem like your life was this, because we want to live in denial of the things that actually really happened. And
Hmm.
so for me, it was a really searching my heart over and over, making sure that I was saying what I believe God would have me say. I don't have to be, I don't have to, sound like my family knew better and didn't do better. I mean, some
Right.
people, not everybody. However, I am aware that somebody else reading this book will be going through a similar thing, but don't have a
Yes.
language for where they are and what they have going on.
Hmm.
Somebody else may be picking up this book, they have overcome it, and somewhere in their minds, they still think they are the only ones that went through it, right?
Right.
They're looking for somebody that will give them the courage to also come out and share their story and not be ashamed. And
Yes.
so, and so we want to make sure, and so we want to make sure We want to make sure that we're integral, we're honorable, but we're still
Yes.
telling the truth for the
And yes,
purpose of someone else seeing their lives in your storyline and thinking, wow, if God did that for her, then he's in the building. That's why the book is
absolutely.
in my hand. He wants to
Yes.
do the same with me.
I love it. And I agree. You can be integral, honest, and still honorable. You're going to tell the
Yes.
story. And I think that it needs to be told. I'm going to wrap by this one quote. I don't know where I marked it in the book, but you said, you believe that what God has done in you, in your life, he also wants to do through your life.
Yeah.
And I love that statement. It's not a call that everyone is going to be in ministry, but it is a call to recognize that God hasn't simply given you freedom for you to be free. You
Mm-hmm.
know, he hasn't simply done a
Mm-hmm.
thing in your life for you to keep it a
Mm-hmm.
secret,
Yes.
not
Jesus
allow
is not a
others.
secret.
Come on. He's not your
Yes.
secret. This idea that he's done a thing in your
Mm-hmm.
life. He wants to do the same thing through your life. I often tell
Yeah.
pastors and leaders, you're the first partaker of the revelation you're preaching in your church.
Yes.
But
Yes.
if you don't have like this idea of, sometimes pastors want to make it more about God, less about their story. Well,
Mm-hmm.
the church doesn't really need to be about me. Yeah, but God put you there as the visionary, and people need to know your testimony.
Yes.
They need to know how you
Yeah,
met
I
Jesus
think
and
it's a
how you
false
got
sense
free.
of, yeah,
Mhm.
it's a false sense of making people feel like the reason why I'm standing on the pulpit is because I can take care of your issue, but I've not gone through it.
Yeah,
And I
I've
don't
never had
understand.
one.
Yes, I've never had one. Like everything is perfect. My kids all listen. They're
Mhm.
all gonna be in ministry and all these things that you guys are going through. Like God is just teaching me how to, help you. And I love what you said about let people see the story. Let
Yes,
people know that they can come to you because you're not necessarily gonna pamper them to stay where they are. But
right.
what will make you earn the right to even challenge them out
There
of the
it
pit is
is.
because you can show them that you were once upon a time in a pit. And if you were still in the pit, you wouldn't be the one they'll be talking to.
Come on now. Be
Right?
able to like, here's my scars. I got scars.
Yes, yeah. But
I've
I
been
came
through it.
out of it. And so I know
Yep.
exactly what I'm saying to you. You can walk out of this, but you have to be responsible or you
Mhm.
have to let go. Even the whole idea of how do I forget? I'm like, don't worry about the forgetfulness. Don't try to forget it. Just forgive it. And
Just
every
forgive
time
it.
it comes to mind, you forgive it, you let it go,
Yep.
you love on the person. Let God help us to forgive what we can forget. For me personally, I there are things I can never forget, but when I think
Mhm.
about it, I don't have a sense of anger.
Yeah.
I don't have a sense of hatred. There's no
Mhm.
bitterness in my heart because people will look at me like my husband will be like, oh, how did you get this? And I have to tell him that
Yes.
my mom did this to me. So there's no way I'm
Mhm.
going to forget. If my children
Yes.
are also going to ask me, mommy, how did you get this? What happened to
Yes.
you? My
Yes.
2-year-old is that inquisitive. Oh, mommy, you got a boo boo, did the doctor? And
Mhm.
if I have to find a way to tell my daughter that your grandma actually did this to me, but
Yes.
there's no bitterness in my voice. I'm still telling her that, hey, grandma didn't know any better. Grandma was very loving. And I think if she was alive, she'd have been a wonderful grandmother to you. And
Yes.
I'm not faking it. It's because deep down in me, I don't have
Yes.
residue of what the enemy will want me to harbor against the people, who did not treat me so kindly.
What I love is that you got the healing, though. You got the cure. I often tell people the devil doesn't want to just cut you, he wants to infect you. So that even when
That
the
part.
opening is closed, the infection is still running through you. So
Yeah.
this idea of getting the wound cleaned, by the blood of
Yeah.
Jesus. And
Yeah.
I love that you give instructions. We don't just say forgive. We say this is how you forgive. And I can acknowledge that there is a
Hmm.
process. I
Yes.
love coaching people through a process. So I can acknowledge there
There
is
is
a
a
process.
process. You
It
know how
will.
I learned that, Dr. Palm? Somebody was mentoring me and she asked me a question. She said, people have said to you, forgive your mother, forgive your father, forgive all these people who hurt you. She said,
Mhm.
has anyone ever asked you how what they did impacted you?
There you go.
So I believe that's the place where the forgiving what you cannot forget begins to
Yes.
happen. That the
Yes.
person can acknowledge this is how this
This
thing
is
has
how it impacted
impacted
me.
me.
Yes.
This is how this thing
Mhm.
has changed my life. And
Yes.
maybe in ways I would never be able to reverse it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
However, I forgive
I
anyways.
forgive.
And that was such a healing process for me
I
because
love
people
that.
hear the story and she said, when I hear your story, I don't hear a kid who is angry at her parents. I don't hear a woman talking from a place of bitterness and now wants to raise a movement or start a movement on
Mm-mm.
how women should not go through the same thing. She's like, I hear somebody who is working hard to love, to let go, to genuinely
Yes.
lead. She said, but I want you to just tell me, how does these things impact you? And that was it. I don't have to go
I
back and
love it.
forgive again because just somebody being able to hear that I was impacted and I don't have to
Yes.
fake my forgiveness was
Yes.
good.
And I don't have to be mechanical and say,
Mm-mm,
sometimes in
mm-mm.
Christendom we can become very plastic and we pretend like we're okay when we're not. And to be able to say, yeah, this really hurt and I need to admit that. And then I
Yes,
can make the exchange with God. Then I can actually
yes,
bring him the tears. But if I
yeah,
refuse to cry, I can never exchange, the beauty for the
yeah,
ashes if I never really give him the ashes.
yes.
So you've just done a fantastic job. I'm really so thrilled about the book
Thank
and to just
you.
see the hand of God in your life, to see what he's doing. It's a beautiful thing. And
Thank
I just
you.
thank you so much for joining me in this conversation.
My absolute honor. Thank you for having me. Thank you for allowing me to see you. It's such
Yes.
a treat. It's such a treat. Hopefully, I can get to be at one of your events one day because you have
Yeah.
so much going on and it's such an amazing thing to watch because it's very needed, like true
Thank you.
leadership. Because I feel like we're also struggling like, as Christians, just being religious in our leadership. And then when we go to the
Mhm.
marketplace, we don't know
Yes.
how to be that without being braggadocious with people who don't have our spiritual orientation.
Yes.
So I think you doing that, where it's not just equipping people to be who they need to be within the four walls of a religious setting, but to be
Yes.
able to go into the marketplace as well as government
Yes.
spaces and
Mhm.
embody Christ, but without making it look like what other people don't want.
Right. Yes. You can be completely you and at the same time love someone who is nothing like you.
Yeah.
And that's really what's going to distinguish real Christians
Mhm.
from everybody else out there that's even
Yeah.
pretending to be or thinking that they are. I don't know if they're
Yeah.
delusional or lost or the pressure just got to people and they feel like I've seen so many Christians abandon the ways of God, but yet keep the name of God. And it is so, when
It's
I tell you, it is
it's
so,
ridiculous.
it's devastating.
It is.
It's devastating when I
It
see it.
is.
And so
It is.
I just want to see believers live from their godly identity everywhere that they are. And you don't have to be rude or angry or
Mm-mm.
legalize. You don't have to get legalistic
No.
with other
No.
people and force someone to believe like you believe. You can literally win their soul with wisdom.
Yeah.
And that wisdom is going to be through the love of God. We're going to actually have to do real kingdom work.
Yeah, that's amazing. It's simply
I
your
told a believer, I
lifestyle.
said, you know what you're going to have to do? You're going to actually have to love your neighbor. You're going to
Yeah,
actually have to ask your coworker about their life and who they are and where they're from. You're going to actually have to get to know them
yeah,
and
yeah.
hear their story. Jesus
That's
listened to
so
that
good.
lady's whole story, the woman that had the issue of blood. The Bible says she told
Yeah,
her whole story. Listen to her
yeah.
whole story.
Like how many people rejected her, what happened to her marriage, her kids,
Yes,
all the
yes,
doctors and
yes,
society, and the ones that
with
said Jesus
empathy.
would not even
Mhm.
have time for you.
Yes, yeah,
And it's incredible the people he made time for, and not the people now
yes.
we want to sit at fancy tables. He sat at tables that nobody wanted to see that.
Listen, your real character is shown in what you can do for someone that can do very little back for you.
Or nothing.
or nothing for you.
I'm nothing for
They
you.
can do nothing for you. And
Yeah.
yet you show an interest because they too, just like you, are made in the image of God.
Yeah.
And God has an idea of them that maybe they just haven't caught up with yet. And so, anyway, don't get me started about leadership because I will go on and on.
I know that's
I
you.
love
That's
it.
you all day.
Yeah,
That's
I
you
love
all
it.
day.
Well,
Thank
continue
you,
to be
Dr. Pam.
blessed and please
Amen.
keep in touch. We'll
I
let you know when
will.
we are I'll let you know when I'm doing something again. I'm sure it'll be locally here in Florida. I'll
That would be
probably
nice.
post.
My
Yeah.
husband is from Florida, so
Oh wow. Yeah.
yeah, he's from Orlando.
Oh wow, yes. Awesome. Yeah. So I'll probably be doing something locally here in the Florida area. I live on the Gulf and it's just so beautiful here, the
Of
beaches.
course. Of
Oh,
course.
it's so, oh my God, how have you done this for me? So beautiful. So just a
Thank you,
wonderful
Lord.
life he's given me. And I'm so thankful.
Yeah. We are happy for you. We are happy for you. It's amazing to see. It's amazing
Thank
to see
you. Thank
you
you
and
so
your
much.
amazing husband, and you still get to do all the things that
Yes.
you've been doing. So good. Thank you, Dr. Pam, Mama
It's
Pam.
my
I love
pleasure.
you,
I love you too.
and I'm excited and honored for this opportunity.
Thank you. It's my pleasure. Catch me on social media at PR The Builder. Visit me online at pamross.com. Catch you next time.